Hey, Anna, Ryan, welcome to the stream.
Hey.
You are live on the internet to thousands of people who deeply care about AWS. So, why don't we start with maybe some introductions? Anna, how about you start? You're the first on my screen.
Sure. Hey guys, my name's Anna Whitehouse. I'm a senior product manager here at AWS on the AWS Clean Rooms team. Happy to be here.
Woohoo. Thanks for joining us,
Well,
Anna.
welcome, Ryan.
I'm Ryan Malecki. I'm a solution architect working on AWS Clean Rooms. Glad to be here as well.
Sweet.
Lovely.
Okay,
Well, Anna and Ryan.
we're talking
Sorry, go
about
ahead, Doug.
AWS Clean Rooms. Yeah. See, well, here's the thing. I know Fiona got a new microphone, so she is eager to use it, and it
I
sounds
just want
amazing.
everyone to hear how great my microphone is.
It sounds awesome. So let's get into it. Let's talk about AWS Clean Rooms. I'm gonna throw off the softball starter. Like, if I'm new, I've never heard of that before. What is AWS Clean Rooms?
I'll take that one. So AWS Clean Rooms is a data collaboration service. It allows companies and their partners to more easily and securely analyze their collective data sets. So what does that mean in kind of more human terms? It means that if I am, let's say, a clothing company, I sell cold weather clothes for when it gets really freezing outside. I'm in New Jersey right now, so we need that kind of thing.
That's right.
And Ryan is an airline and has lots of places where advertising can go up. And I want to see if it makes sense for me as a brand to advertise in the places that Ryan has. I don't want to send Ryan my data. He doesn't want to send me his data, but we can use a clean room to collaborate on our collective data sets without ever sharing or copying each other's data and get some really awesome insights out of that collective analysis. So that's what a clean room is.
Okay,
Got it.
cool.
Okay, so
Yeah.
this is
Oh,
go
oh,
for it,
oh,
Todd.
oh, oh. Always talking on the internet. It's a little bit weird, right? It can be so unnatural. You start, Fiona, and then I'll back up.
Yeah, we're having a tough time transitioning because we were in
First
person in
episode, it's
December.
okay.
It's so much easier talking in person. So Anna, it sounds like this is a great way for two separate organizations who are, separately managing their own data, get to collaborate with each other. They don't have to worry about having complete and full trust in the other organization and handing over that data. Rather, they get to have a kind of a centralized location where they're saying, okay, I want you to be able to collaborate with me, but I'm not going to actually give you my data.
That's right. And I think a key point to get across is that there's no data movement. So it's not that you're putting your data into this central environment. You get to keep control of your data. It stays with you, and your collaborators have the same experience. So it can be multiple collaborators. It doesn't have to just be two. But the main point is that there are multiple data sets where you can run analysis across them without moving or copying that data anywhere.
Okay, and so that data is just grabbed. Can a clean room be a location where something is changed, added to, that kind of thing?
So the underlying data itself doesn't really get changed. The goal is to, um, uh, depending on the use case, get an overlap analysis of similarities across the data, that kind of thing. Again, it's very use case specific, but the underlying data isn't modified. You do some analysis, and then there's output of that analysis that was created based on the underlying data sets.
And AWS Clean Rooms offers me some control over that too, right? Like, if I don't want to expose maybe a column or some portion of that data, I can do that with AWS Clean Rooms, right?
100%. So again, you retain control of your data, and part of the controls, part of the things that you can do in a clean room is add rules on top of your data set. So you have your data, let's say it's stored in S3 or maybe somewhere else, which is what we're going to talk about in a minute. You can decide, okay, I only want these types of queries run on top of my data. And you get to define that so that when a query runner, your other partner in the collaboration, runs a query, you know that it is enforced against the rules that you dictated when you joined that collaboration.
Yeah, I can imagine how this is hugely helpful. Like, just thinking back to the days of development and just the complexity around having to sanitize data, right? We talked about that a lot. We used to, we have to, first I got to sanitize, I got to prep, I got to do all of this work just to then hand it off. But once I hand it off, it's out of my hands. I lose some control. But with AWS Clean Rooms, that's not the case. Okay, and then you kind of hinted at it. We're going to be talking about some new capabilities, some new what do we see? Some new data sources for AWS Clean Rooms? Is that right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So this was a big launch for us. We launched this at reInvent a couple weeks ago now. Seems like years ago, but time is meaningless these days. Yeah, so we added 2 new data sources. So prior to that launch, you had to have your data stored in S3 and crawled into glue tables, which obviously a lot of customers have their data like that, and that's the perfect way that they want to interact with clean rooms. But a lot of customers also work with partners who might not have their data stored in that way, and we want to make it as easy as possible for every customer and their partners to be able to use and leverage a clean room. So
Yeah, and
what we
go ahead, Ada. I was just want to make sure that we get to this because one of the cool things about this show is we don't just talk about the stuff
let's
that
demo.
we're launching.
Just do
We
it.
demo the stuff, right?
Let's
So
do
we've
it.
got. I want to make sure we're using our time to get into that demo. Let's bring that up.
Hey, give us a look.
Great. Great. Yep. So I'm going to be running through the demo today.
Okay, Ryan's our demo guy.
set
You got to do the demo dance, Ryan. I think we talked about this in our prep. No, you don't have to do that.
I
I'm just
don't,
messing
I
with
don't, I don't think you want the ratings that me dancing would get you.
Come on.
you. And all of a sudden, just people
so-
just drop off the channel. It's just like, I forget about it. I was into it until the dancing started. Okay, so orient us here, Ryan. We've got your
Yep.
screen pulled up.
Where are we?
What
What
are we looking at?
Sure. So I have 2 accounts pulled up. AWS Clean Rooms, you can use it with 1 account, but most of our use cases are 2 or more separate organizations that are using
Is
Clean
there
Rooms.
a maximum number of organizations that can collaborate?
The default limit is 5, but that's something we can increase.
Got it.
So I have 2 accounts here, 1 in dark mode, 1 in light mode. For this use case, I'll bit of a story to talk through, hopefully to make it a little easier to follow what's going on. Imagine that you have 2 streaming TV providers that are considering whether they want to launch a joint venture. And before that, they want to know, hey, are we going to reach net new customers by coming together? Or do we already have the same customer base for the most part? If it's the same customers, it doesn't really make sense to work together. But if they have separate user bases, it makes sense. The simple way to do this would be to have one of the companies send a list of all of their subscribers to the other. Downside of that is if things don't work out, now their competition has a list of all of their users. That's where Clean Rooms comes in. I'm going to show having both sides take their list of subscribers associated to the Clean Room and run a query that returns the number of total users without allowing either side to see the individual email addresses associated.
Okay, because the thought here is that if we see the total number of users and subtract from that my TV programs individual users, that's the number of users that belongs to the other.
Yeah.
What
So I'm going to run a SQL query that looks for the overlap. So how many common users
we're
are
looking
there
for
between
overlap.
the
Got
two?
it.
This is a common use case for AWS Clean Rooms. I'm going to highlight the new feature we launched, being able to have one party have their data on Snowflake. So instead of having to ETL data from Snowflake into an S3 data lake, it'll be able to access the data where it lives today.
Very cool.
So I've skipped over the setup of creating what we call a collaboration, an instance of the Clean Room. I actually have a previous AWS OnAir session the viewers can go check out if they're interested in learning more about that step. So I've gone ahead. I have a collaboration OnAir Live. The first thing I'm going to do is create what we call a configured table. This is a reference to data stored somewhere out of Clean Rooms. You don't actually store anything in the Clean Room. It's just a way of wiring up the permissions and the controls on what can happen. So I'll create a new configured table. I'll select the data source. In this case, I'm selecting Snowflake.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say some of this looks a little new here. What's new here?
Yep.
So we had before
Yep.
previously we had S3. And
Yep.
now we have some new options on this screen specifically. And that's one of those
Yep.
is Snowflake. Cool.
Yep. Snowflake and Athena are the two options we launched.
Nice.
So here I'm going to enter some, I'll say some fake Snowflake credentials. I have the real credentials set up already, but I would enter
Todd.
Huh? Me? That's the
I was
password?
going to say his username should have been you.
Oh, sorry. I'm being triggered by the term snowflake. We've gotten so much snow in the last few days that I'm like, I'm already feeling cold.
We're snowed over here in DC too.
Yeah, if you're in the chat, if you're buried under snow, let us know. Let's get this chat. Let's
How cold is it
defrost
where
this
you are?
chat here. Yeah, exactly. So we're just filling out some configuration details. We're talking, okay, this is the Snowflake connection parameters. Here's the table that I care about. Here's some, we're going to define a schema. Okay.
Yep. So I've entered all of that metadata. And now the next choice I make is what columns I want to make accessible. So if I'm setting this up as I am in this example to only importing just the schema I need, I'm not going to add make columns accessible that I don't need for my analyses. But if I was referencing a data set that was already in my data lake, it might have a bunch of columns that aren't necessary for what I'm doing in the clean rooms. Really key to clean rooms is thinking about implementing the principle of least privilege. So here I'll select all columns and I'll create a new configure table, and it looks like the demo gods are happy with me.
Yay!
Despite you not doing the dance, it's a miracle. Yeah.
So now I'm going to create an analysis rule. So the analysis rule is specifying for this table, how can it be used? We support a range of different types of rules. I can either specify specific templates that can be used. So parameterized SQL queries, this gives you really tight control. Or I can specify any query written by a specific party. Since this is my data set and I'm going to be the one running queries, I'm going to say that any query I write is okay, because I'm the one writing it. I also have the ability to specify whether a column can be used in the output or not. I'm actually going to select this option and say there's no reason to return the email address. All I want here is some counts. So I'm going to say you can't ever return the email addresses from the query.
Makes sense.
And
yeah, this seems like typical. We might want to obscure some PII information if there's other types of PII, maybe sensitive, IP sensitive types of data. We're going to obscure those or disallow them from. Okay, so now we're just
knowing the emails of my customers.
Yeah,
and it's a really common use case for clean rooms is you need to be able to need email address or some other user level identifier so you can join together the data sets so I can figure out who the users are on each side. But you don't want to you don't want to ever expose that data. We're just looking at aggregates here.
That makes sense.
So that's all set up. And with that, I have my configure table ready to go. I'm going to go into, this collaboration. And I'm going to what we call associate a table. So that table I set up, I could use with many different partners if I wanted to. Maybe I'm shopping around, working with a whole bunch of other streaming TV providers to figure out who would be the best partner for my joint venture. I'm going to select not the table I just set up, but the table that has the credentials that I set up ahead of time. And associate that to the collaboration. Here I'm creating an IAM role that's giving the clean room service permission to access in this case, it's going to access the secrets manager secret where we saved the username and password and other credentials that are going to be used to access Snowflake. if I was using Athena or S3, it would be the IAM credentials used to access the data in S3.
Yeah, which is a pretty typical pattern here at AWS, right? Anytime
Yep.
we're using credentials, those credentials can be used outside of AWS. We're going to store them in a secrets manager and then give IAM permit, or the service that we're using, IAM permission to access that and to do that, or even access another service. So if you're new to AWS, definitely a really common pattern you'll see across all of the demos that we do. But we've created the IAM role, and it looks like it kind of had a pre-configured role, which makes it a little bit easier for me. You just have to, but you still have to create it. Okay.
Yep. So here I'm going to, if I just try to select, actually, let me go through. I'll go to the other side. So the
I was just going to say, Ryan, are we
collaboration.
still in the same other account? I was just about to ask, when do we get to the other account? So now we're in the second account. Okay.
Yep.
I like this light dark thing.
Now-
That's really clever.
Yeah,
It
that helps
surprised
me.
All right.
Yep. So I have the second account. I can see that table, the customers table I just associated from the other side. I'm going to go and select a table I set up ahead of time. This is a table on S3. And go through that same association dance. So all I'm doing here is I went through similar steps, set up a table in S3, set up the analysis rules. Now I've associated it to the collaboration. I'll jump back here and start running some queries. So
okay, let me
I
catch this
can
up here.
see-
So we had account A, and it had a data source, and we configured and made that data source available. And then we had account B, another data source. We configured and made that account available. So now we're back into the first account, and we're gonna run a query against both of those data sets using AWS Clean Rooms to collaborate.
Yep, that's it.
All right. I just wanted
so-
to hit that recap in case people are just joining us for the first time. We've got just a few minutes, Ryan, so I want to make sure we hit that. Let's do the big reveal here. What's our big
query?
sweet query?
So let's try to select from the customers table. So let's try to select that column, and I'm getting an error here saying the email address column I'm not allowed to select. That was the idea before. So I can go through and copy paste, because there's not time for me to stumble through writing a query. Copy paste a query where I'm following those rules, and we can see it's kicked off. And in the interest of time, I'm going to do my best Julia Child impression, which isn't very good, and jump to
I was
the
so hoping
query
you
I
were going
ran
to
ahead of
Julia
time, which I can see in this case. Oh, wrong one.
Where is it at?
I can see that query that I ran, and I can see there are 4 common emails between the 2 data sources, one living in Snowflake and one living in an S3 data lake.
Fantastic. So you just showed us that those 2 organizations don't actually have access to each other's email addresses, because you did that select query and it said, nope, nice try, but you can't see that. However, if you want to see what the overlap is, here's the answer, and there are 4 overlapping emails.
Yep, that's it.
I love it. That was fantastic. Thank you so much for giving us that overview, Ryan and Anna. I'm wondering, do you have any customers that you've worked with so far who are already using this and loving it, or do you have a customer that you're excited to bring this to?
Yes, we definitely have a bunch of people who are already testing it, or I mean, we have plenty of customers who are already collaborating using our existing data source. But because this has opened up opportunities to collaborate with partners that they couldn't collaborate with before, we have a lot of excitement from customers who are reaching out to new partners that they kind of had put on the back of the list. And we're really, really excited to just help these customers collaborate and get really cool insights like Ryan showed us out of their collective data sets.
And if our audience wanted to learn more about this or get started somewhere, where's a good place that they can maybe start just to get their hands on AWS Clean Rooms?
I mean, we have our homepage, our AWS Clean Rooms homepage. It has all the documentation there. It walks you step by step, kind of like Ryan just did. We also have a news blog that went out with the launch that walks step by step how you would use the snowflakes feature specifically. And Repost, I think, is also going to be talking to y'all later, so you can post your questions there. We're always happy to answer them.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, both of you, for joining us. That wraps up the end of our time. So we're gonna let you go and shout out our people in the comments. Go ahead and check out those resources that Anna just mentioned and learn some more about clean rooms.
Thanks, guys.